Okay, I'll go ahead and get started now. Hi everyone, I'm Sanvi and I'm so excited to welcome y'all to this Intro to Data Science workshop. I'm part of the team over at KYH and today I'm going to show y'all how you can use real-world data and a little bit of Python to uncover insights just like a real data scientist. So this workshop, even if you haven't coded that much, you can still catch up pretty quickly, and it's going to take place mostly through Google Colab. So first, let me just paste a few links in the chat for y'all to access the link to the data set we're going to analyze today, as well as a link to use Google Colab here. Okay, so I'll go ahead and share my screen and we'll get started right now. Okay, so we're going to start with an introduction to what data science is. So, data science is basically the process of asking a question, gathering and analyzing data, and sharing what you find. It's used in everything. It's used in so many places, like in tracking climate change to designing social media algorithms, and even helping companies make better decisions. Data science also has many real-world applications that y'all have probably seen before. It's used in social media platforms like TikTok to recommend content. It's used in database global climate maps created by NASA. It's even used by credit card companies to detect fraud. Today, we're going to learn what data science is and how we can explore and analyze datasets using Python. Also, we'll learn how to clean and visualize data using libraries like pandas and matplotlibs. Additionally, we'll learn how we can answer some essential questions with data. So today's project is going to be about mental health and tech. We're going to walk through all of that together using real survey data from people in the tech industry and their experiences with mental health. We'll be working with this Kaggle dataset over here. We're going to use this data to explore questions like who gets mental health support at work, and does remote work affect how people feel about their mental health? You'll follow along on your own computers, and I'll try my best to slow down and give y'all some time to catch up and for things to load. If you ever fall behind, don't worry, because we'll always post the full recordings on workshops afterwards on our Discord channel. Now for some setup. You're going to follow the instructions on screen. First, open the link in the chat. Open the link to the data set. It should be in like a Google Drive, I think. And you're going to download the mental health and tech survey as a CSV file and save it to your Google Drive specifically. This step is crucial in order to use this data set in your code later. I'll give you guys about a minute or two to download the data set. Okay, by now I'm hoping most of you have downloaded the data set to your Google Drive. So now it's going to be time to code. You'll follow along in your own browser using Google Colab, which lets us code without needing anything installed. It's kind of like a shared notebook where we can write and run Python code step by step while writing text explanations explaining the code. Follow the instructions on screen to set up. Open the Google Colab link in the chat. Then, on the top left corner of the screen, press File. Then, press Save a Copy in Drive. A new tab should open up with a copy of the Welcome in Colab notebook. This is the notebook in which you guys will be working. I'll give you guys a minute or so to complete Colab setup. Okay, by now I'm hoping most of you have created a new Colab notebook in your Google Drive. I would highly encourage you guys to set up a split screen so you can work on your code while viewing mine. That'll make things go a lot faster. Follow along as I explain the code in each cell and run it to demonstrate the output. Okay, so first we have some important libraries that we have to import. Python libraries are collections of pre-written code with specific functionalities that we use to perform tasks without writing code from scratch. Today, we will be using pandas and matplotlib. Pandas is used for data manipulation and analysis, while matplotlib is used for creating customized visualizations. We're giving each library a shorter name, like PD and PLT, so that we can easily refer to them throughout our code. When you want to run a code block, press Shift plus Enter to run your cell. You can also press the down arrow if you'd like, or this button. Next, copy this exact statement over here into a new code cell. This is to make sure that Google Colab can access your Google Drive files. Once you type out this code, run the cell and allow the notebook to access your Google Drive files. Here, I'll run it to demonstrate. You're going to have to click Connect to Google Drive and then choose an account to sign into Google Drive and sign in. And then you'll be able to allow Google Colab to access your Google Drive files. I'll give you guys like 30 seconds or so to do that. Okay, so hopefully your drive is mounted at Colab. And now, in the next line of code, we're going to load the CSV file into this data frame that we call DF for short. In this line of code, in these parentheses, you need to put the path of the CSV file containing the dataset. It should be located somewhere within your Google Drive. So to access that link, you're going to have to click on Files over here and go into Drive, and then go into My Drive. Let me demonstrate for you. Then you're going to search through and you're going to find the folder that your file is in, or if it's not in a folder, you can just search for the name. And then here is my data set. So I'm going to click on these three dots, and then I'm going to copy the path, and I'm going to paste it in between these parentheses, and be sure not to forget the single quotes. And then I'm going to run. Okay. Okay, so hopefully that should have loaded by now for y'all. Now we're going to look at the first 5 rows of our data set to get a good understanding of what we're working with. If you want to view the entire data set, you can just run df without the dot head function. However, we just want a preview of the data and we don't want to be overwhelmed with all of it, so we use the dot head function on our data frame df to do that. Here are the first 5 rows. So now that we've seen the first 5 rows and had a look at the columns, we should get to know more about what we're working with by using df.info to get a summary of the data structure. We can see how many rows and columns that we have and what each column is named, what type of data it holds, and how many missing values each column has. We can see here that this data set has 1,259 entries, or rows, and 27 columns. We can also see the amount of non-null or filled values each column contains. The comments column, for example, contains only 164 values. So we can infer that the surveyors gave the survey participants a choice on whether or not they wanted to leave a comment. We can also see that most of these column data types are objects, while age is the only int, given that it is the only number. So next, we need to clean the data by dropping missing values and simplifying some categories like gender. Real-world data is pretty messy. People skip questions, use weird spellings, or enter values like F and female that mean the same thing. We'll clean the data up a bit by dropping missing values from important columns like gender and benefits. Even though our data set today is pretty clean and doesn't have much missing values in these columns, we include this step as a safety check, because in real-world datasets and situations, it's common to have blanks or missing entries. This drop null function will drop rows with any missing values in the columns gender or benefits. Now, let's begin our first data visualization. We're going to visualize through a bar chart. We want to see how many survey participants have received treatment for mental illness. The value counts function over here counts how many people have and have not received treatment. We then use the plot function to choose the kind of chart we want, which is a bar chart. So we set the kind to bar. You can also set the color of the bars. So I set the color to light sea green. However, you can use any other color you like pink or orange. We will then use PLT as a reference to the matplotlib library. We'll set the title and x-axis and y-axis of the graph. Once we're done with that, we'll call the show function to display our bar chart. We can see here, We can see here that the number of participants who received treatment for mental illness and those who didn't is about the same. With this data, we can begin asking questions like, does the proportion of individuals with mental illness versus individuals without mental illness reflect the realities within the tech industry, and why? So for our next visualization, we will be comparing how different companies offer mental health benefits. Our code here will be very similar to that of the previous visualization. We're also going to use a bar chart here. Similarly, we'll give our graph a title, an X and Y axis. After running the code, we can see here that there are more participants whose companies provide mental health benefits than not. However, many participants also don't know if their company even offers them. There's about 400, between 400 to 500 participants who know that their company offers mental health benefits, and about 300 to 400 who know that their company doesn't offer mental health benefits. However, there is a large amount of people who don't know. We can also visualize the mental health benefits available to participants through a pie chart. Similar to the bar graphs, we use the value counts function to get the number of people who answered either yes or no in the survey. This time, however, we set the kind of graph to pie. Then, this part with auto-packed adds percentage labels instead of just numbers, so we can understand how much of the pie each category is worth. We then remove the y-axis of the graph with this line sending a blank reference. Lastly, we call the show function and hit run. So this chart conveys the same information as the previous bar graph, though it is up to you to decide which visual you prefer. With data visualization, it is also important to make visuals as clear to viewers as possible. We can try to improve this visualization, not only by different graphs, but also through strategic color use. Here, let's replace the yes and pink with green for yes. We'll replace the green for no with red for no, and we'll replace the don't know with blue to a don't know with gray. Let's run it again. Watch how the visual changes. This simple understanding and change allows for quicker understanding of the chart's meaning. The yes stands for green, and the red stands for no, and the gray stands for don't know. There are many simple ways to change your visuals, and color is one of them. If you guys want, you can explore more questions with this data set and try out different values. I'll go up here and show you some more columns. You can see the correlation between the age of an employee and their family history of mental illness. You can also see the correlation between the country an employee lives in and their wellness program and care options. You can do so many more visualizations and ask so many more questions after these 3 steps. Okay, so let's just take a moment to understand what we built with this data science project. We just used real data and tools to uncover insights. We learned how to load and explore a data set and clean the data, analyze the data using libraries like pandas, and create clear charts with matplotlib. We also drew conclusions from the data visualizations. Today, we followed the data science process. We asked a question, got data, cleaned it, analyzed it, visualized it, and then interpreted it. The next time you have a question that can be answered with data, follow this process. This wasn't just about code, because using and understanding data can help us solve problems, whether it's about health, equity, climate, or social change. You now have the tools to ask real questions and use data to find real answers. So, what could you ask next? Here are some questions you could explore if you want to keep going. How does support for mental health vary by gender or remote work status? Are people from certain countries more likely to talk about mental health? And do younger or older people seek help more often? We can also explore questions like, how does support for mental health vary by gender or remote work status? What if we compare this dataset with another dataset relating to the same issues? So if you enjoyed this, you can also explore more and go deeper with some resources like this. If you want to check out the original dataset, go on Kaggle and search the Mental Health and Tech Survey, and then you can see the specifications of this dataset. You can also go into Google Colab and build more data science projects yourself. And then here's some free resources to learn Python data science. Thank you so much for joining. If you want to share your charts, ask questions, or learn more, feel free to reach out through the Discord after this event.